Hi, I'm Dave and welcome to episode 53 of On The Bench. Available on iTunes, Stitcher and all good podcast apps. While you're there, don't forget to mark us as your favourite so that you never miss a show. In this episode, we're going to be looking at building model aircraft. From the moment you get home with that lovely kit and unbox it, all the way through to having a beautiful, award-winning finished model sitting in your cabinet. And a huge round of applause to Ethan Idenmill, the latest member to join the hallowed ranks of our Patreon supporters. You too can join the ranks of this growing supporter army by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your valued contribution will assist in offsetting our production and hosting costs, and they're greatly appreciated by both myself and the team. Fine Scale Modeler is proud to support On The Bench. Fine Scale Modeler is the world's most recognised and essential magazine and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands, or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, you can go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either a print edition or a digital edition. Or if you really want to spoil yourself, why not both? Go now to www.finescale.com. And hello and welcome to the show, and g'day Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day listeners.
G'day Julian.
Hello.
So guys, what's been happening since the last episode?
I've got an empty workbench.
Yay! I bet you were so relieved to finally have that finished.
I'm so happy that the Shikaku's finally done and dusted.
Yep.
So I'm very happy with the outcome of it. Looks
Excellent.
quite
Do you
come
have
up all right.
Do you have the cover type thing? The
case for it?
Yeah, the glass or perspex or
No,
whatever.
not yet. But that's not model building.
Okay.
I'll get someone else to make that for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Got to say, it's come out absolutely gorgeous, and the pilots you can see in the small 1350 scale aircraft, it's just awesome.
Yeah, that was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
The main challenge and the sweaty part was actually cutting up the canopies.
Oh, I bet it was.
Especially the front glazing, because it's like you're dealing with a curved surface that's only a millimetre in diameter.
Yeah.
And you can't hold it in the tweezers, because as soon as you try and pick up the tweezers, it
goes
ding,
ding.
ding. And I only had 27.
Okay.
So I only had enough for the aircraft. So if I lost one...
So how did you actually go about cutting it?
I used a modelling saw.
Yeah.
And a pair of pliers, just hold, because I had like a section that hung down underneath them to slot in place into the airframe.
Yeah.
So I just held that with the pliers and used my hobby saw and very carefully, not breathing, cut them and
27 times.
Had to make about 3 cuts.
Yeah.
Every time I'd cut one, I'd carefully pick it up, put it in a box,
Wow.
a very tall box, so it wouldn't fall out or go missing.
Yep.
The pilots, they were fun. I had to do some serious adjusting to the because I used just the Japanese sailors that I had left over.
But it came out good. Look good.
Yeah, they come up all right. I was quite happy with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agree.
All the every aircraft's got a couple of crewmen at the wheels for the wheel chocks.
So your bench is now clear.
It is empty.
There's nothing on it.
There's nothing on it at the moment.
Oh, there you go.
Did it come with wheel chocks?
No, I wasn't going to attempt to do wheel chocks in that scale.
Oh, really? So they're just attaching nothing, kind of.
They're just sitting down next to the the wheels.
They'd be pretty tiny, wouldn't
They
they?
are the size of ants.
Mate, you could pretty much get like like plastic dowel and just cut little fragments off, and it's like a fragment of something that you could paint yellow. And you paint it yellow beforehand, and then you...
I'm not going to... Well, all the aircraft are glued on the deck now, so I can't do anything.
Nah.
It's finished.
Gone.
Yep.
What about you, Julian?
I did finish the Helldiver.
All done now?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any finished photographs yet, though.
Yeah, I know. I want to make sure that Ian's photos of his Shikaku gets their deserved attention.
And they are on Facebook. I've got to say, it's been going actually bonkers on Facebook.
Yeah, it's been shared a few times.
It has, yeah. So you're just waiting for some clean air, are you? before you put your photos up.
Yes. I mean, it's not completely finished. I just need to put like pitot tube and a few other little tiny things on.
Okay.
But it's got like its antenna That was
Yep.
fun.
Yeah.
Because go on them antennas where it runs across and you got another piece that runs up to meet it from the middle.
Yep.
And I was like, I first glued it one time. I was like, oh, it's got too much tension on it. So I was just pulling it down in the middle.
Oh, yeah,
Getting that V shape in there.
I hadn't done that before, so that was
So what
fun.
do you use for your lines, for your antenna lines?
I've got some of the Ushi line.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, though.
Speaking of which, I got a shipment of Yushi stuff in just yesterday.
Oh.
So thanks for that, Yushi. And he's been having a lot of trouble recently with his shipping, but I've got to say, it's he says he's going to fix it, and it's all fixed because I ordered this 2 weeks ago. I got an email notification about a week ago, and it arrived about a week after I got the notification. So, I mean, it's just growing pains with a business. You get to a certain point, and then you've got to sort of expand But it's all working well. So don't be afraid to go and order anything from him. I ended up getting some of his his rigging stuff.
Yeah.
Because
I'm not sure what kind of I've got, but I find that it's easily to... You can't see it sometimes. I think maybe I've gotten one that's too thin.
Yeah, you probably got the 0.02 or whatever it is.
Well, I've got all three of his. So it comes in 0.005, 0.003 and 0.001. And I got rid of all my easy line because I reckon this Yushi stuff sticks better with super glue.
Yep.
And so one of our listeners sort of put his hand up and sent me a PM if I was going to throw it out, could he have it? So I sent it up to him.
Okay.
Care of Australia Post. It took over a week to get there.
So I ended up just running some black acrylic paint along it, and that now I can see it.
Yep.
Yeah. Although, and then so I was like, oh, well, that works. I should do that on all my other planes that I've put this on. So I did that, and I noticed that what wasn't evident before was that some of them are twirled.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that because they're not. I guess they must not be perfectly circular.
No,
in
it's
profile.
sort of it's like a flat almost, and it twists very easily.
Yeah.
And down at that scale, 1/350 scale, it's not something you really notice that much. But at aircraft scale, I guess in 148.
Another thing I need to do, I need to figure out, or not figure out. Someone told me how, but I tried it and I didn't get it to work for me. I need to figure out how to do the little bulges on your antenna.
Oh, you know how to do that.
With a
Ian.
bit of white glue or
You
something
get a bit
like
of white
that.
glue. The insulators on the antenna wire.
I use Vallejo paint.
Okay.
Unthinned Vallejo paint. Just get
put a drop on.
Yeah, just put a drop, and you got to build it up.
Okay.
So you put a drop on the top, and then once it's because Vallejo, it dries in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So you put a drop on the top, wait a few minutes, put a drop on the bottom, wait for that to dry, put another drop on the top, wait for that to dry, then put another drop on the bottom. Well, that's how that gives you that nice rounded.
Yep.
But with some aircraft, you got to be careful because they've also got like little cones.
All right.
On the aerial wires.
I'm
not sure how you're going to do a tiny little cone in 148 scale, but
this is starting to get a little bit into our main topic, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave that aside. We'll put that aside.
So
continuing on with what you've been doing.
Yeah, I also my AliExpress order came in, and I got the what's it, display or whatever they're bloody called.
Display. We call it display.
Yeah. I got their photo etch bending tool.
Despair.
It looks beautiful.
It is a very nice tool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all red anodized. It comes with a little. I'm guessing that's a microfiber cloth. Not sure what you would need that for necessarily.
Just cleaning up your anodized aluminium.
I guess, but it's not the only part that's anodized is the actual top part that clamps down, and it is spring loaded. So when you loosen the nuts or whatever you want to call them, the thumb screws, it pops up by itself, and the plate that's underneath it, that the milled anodized aluminium upper piece presses onto, there's actually two of them. I'm not sure why. I think this one's like almost a mirror finish. The other one is like a black, and it's sort of a matte finish kind of thing.
I'd be going for the matte.
No, I wouldn't.
No, brass will stand out a lot better in matte, and you're going to get a better grip on the matte finish.
Well, see, I think that the polished lower half, the highly polished one, is going to be better because I find as I lift up the tool slightly with the knurled nuts, because the one I've got is just a plain aluminium one, if I just try manoeuvring the brass a little bit to get it right on the line for the bending, it sticks too much. So I think that that highly polished one would work really well, actually. I'm going to have to buy
Personal
one because
preference?
it looks so damn good. Not that I need another one, but, it looks really... I've taken some photos, so I'll put it on our Facebook page.
Yeah. It does have one little imperfection. There's a little nick out of the shiny plate.
Yeah.
There's a little sort of something's bumped into it, and it's got a little bulge up there and a little sort of indentation on the side. Not that it's a big deal, but when you're buying quality tools, you kind of expect perfection, right?
Yeah.
That said,
You can sell it to me with the imperfection.
oh right, yeah.
I'll buy it off you.
I think I'll live. I did compare it to its competitors. The only factor I haven't accounted for is, say, shipping and how that factors into the cost. Because, obviously buying from B&A, our local supplier, the small shop for a similar sized tool costs a whole lot more.
Yeah.
Well over $100.
Yeah.
Whereas this costs $70.
Yep.
Roughly, not including shipping.
Yep.
I'm not sure. They must factor that into the price somehow.
Which is the going price for a tool that size.
Yeah. I think $70 I think is about right. So it is competitively priced. Whether if you're in North America, maybe it would cost more because I think the small shop operates out of the US, right?
Oh, okay.
I think.
Don't
quote me.
I don't know.
The other one, a company is RB Tools.
Yeah. Or you could ship direct from the company, I think, or order direct from the company.
You can order direct from Display.
Yeah.
It does come with two little, the little tools that you need to get underneath the photo etch to lift it up.
Bending blades.
Yeah, they call them bending plate.
Which in they're plastic in this case, which is... I just use a Stanley knife, like a
Scraping blade.
scraping blade. Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yeah, some of them have.
The one I bought years ago, you could actually buy a really long blade to go with it.
Yeah, I've got one of them too.
Yeah, which is handy if you're doing cranes and catapults for
Absolutely.
ships.
Yep.
So the bending plate, as they call it for this one, is clear acrylic. It's a wedge shape and it's got a metal spine across the top of it. So I guess it's not bending or anything. I know a lot of the other tools will come with the razor blade looking type affair, which is probably better maybe. As long as it doesn't break.
Well, now you've got
because
nice...
razor blades break, right?
Well, I've never had one break on me while I've done bending.
No, not at all.
Well, now that you've got a nice big tool like that, you can have to go and buy yourself a big warship and lots of brass.
At some point, yeah.
So apart from your Dauntless being 99.999% complete, anything else on your bench? Or that's it? You're clear now?
You mean the Helldiver?
Oh, sorry, what did I say?
Dauntless.
He said
I
Dauntless.
was thinking of something else.
I do have a Dauntless that I want to do.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I won't do it anytime soon yet. There's quite a few kits in my stash that I would like to hook into, but at the same time, I'm kind of considering maybe buying a special hobby boomerang.
I've got one of them.
Yeah, I know you bought one recently, and that's kind of like why I'm interested in it.
Yeah, they make two. I think the CA12 and the CA13.
Because I just like that green scheme, the green and white.
Yeah, with the white tail.
That's very unusual for a warbird, you know. It's interesting.
Yeah, totally agree.
And the leading edges were white too.
Yeah, I love white leading edges. So I really like the olive drab over neutral grey with the white leading edges that you often see on, say, P39s.
I never thought it would really stand out because I always thought an aircraft, flying at 400 miles per hour, coming in for a strafing run, you and these white leading edges were put on so the Allied troops would identify it as an Allied aircraft and theoretically not shoot at it. But I went to an air show and there was a P40 flying and it was done in the Aussie colourings and it had the white along the leading edge of the wing and geez, it stands out.
It does, doesn't it?
It does work.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So what about you, Dave? What are you working on? Or you finished?
Well, I've bought a whole heap of tools and stuff. So I mentioned Uchi earlier on. I also got from him his precision scissor and tweezer set.
Oh.
So this is the scissors are for rigging, and they look very fine. I could almost open a doctor's surgery with these things. They're that good. And I went and had a call with our good friend Brian out at War Game Miniatures because I wanted some of the Molotov masking liquid. So I got 2 of those pens. One comes in a 4mm and the other one comes in a 2mm. But the 2mm one still isn't small enough. I'm wondering if they do a smaller one because I really want to get right into the edge of some of my 1/44th scale aircraft cockpit glass.
You could always buy a second one and take a knife to it.
No, that's not a bad idea. I could think of that. I got some acrylic Gator Grip acrylic glue and the thin blend as well. And Brian, being the good lad he is, out at War Game Miniatures, and I'll just plug him because he did this for us. That's www.wargameminiatures, all in one word, .com.au. He sent us 5 sets of the new pencils from AK, which I did post on our Facebook page, but I haven't had a chance because I've been flat out because I didn't have a chance to actually do any work. So I might get you guys to sort of take a couple of them with you and have a play with them before the next episode and report back.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
All right, cool.
Easy peasy.
I have plenty of unweathered kits sitting them. And
Well, the other reason for giving it to you too, because I've ordered the full set from B&A Hobbies and I'm waiting for the full set to come in.
okay.
But yeah, just if you want to grab a couple and whatever you don't take, I'll raffle off for our Patreon supporters.
I'm just looking at your what do you call them?
Tweezers.
Yeah, the tweezers, right?
Yep.
So if you actually look at it, on the side it says Border.
Yep.
So Border Model are a tool company that make pretty cool tools. I think they operate out of Japan.
Oh, okay.
I'm really keen to get my hands on some of their chisels. They have a chisel for plastic. You know,
Yep.
this is they're all model stuff,
Yeah.
right? They have a chisel that I think is 1.5 mil wide.
I've got one. It comes in an orange case.
I'm not too sure, but the Gunpla, the Gundam guys really like the more advanced Gundam guys in Korea.
Yeah.
Because apparently the Koreans win the Gundam competition championships all the time. And they really like these things.
Well, I find them really good for taking off seams, those plastic modelling chisels.
Well, they can be used for scribing. My only gripe with it is that it's probably too clean a scribe to match the panel lines on most aircraft.
Okay.
Interesting.
But it might be something like, you know, if you're doing sci-fi subjects and things like that, it probably works really well.
The other thing that happened was last Saturday, Ian and I sort of jumped the car to go to the local hobby store and we ended up going all the way over to another one the other side of Melbourne. Well, not the other side of Melbourne, but fairly close to it. And I ended up buying a Star Wars Bandai kit, Star Wars blockade runner. I don't know what scale it is. It's small. But it's a
Tiny.
cool little kit, but it's only going for about $12 or something. And I also got myself a Tamiya M41 Walker Bulldog, and that was only going for about $18.99. So I thought it was a bargain as well.
So
I grabbed that.
It's a fairly old kit, I think. It's been around a while.
Yeah, but it'll work to me. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah.
good.
I don't think there's any other kit manufacturer who does that. Is there?
And while we're there, Ian purchased. What did you buy?
I got my Moosaroo build.
Yes.
So I got a
For the Moosaroo Cup.
Yep, for the Moosaroo Cup. I got a red Gundam. Don't know. I can't remember what it's called. It's a red one with spikes on it and yellow.
It looks evil.
It
It
does
does
look-
looks
yeah,
like a bit,
yeah,
devilish.
Yeah, that's
But
why I bought it. It's a
You don't
mean-looking
have
thing.
to paint it red though.
Well, one of the guys from our friends at the Canadian podcast sent me a link with a whole heap of pictures and information, and there was a white one there, and I thought, white one looks all right.
Oh, gee, a white one would be tough to build.
Why?
White is the worst thing to paint.
No, it's not.
White and yellow.
Yellow is.
No, I reckon white.
And I picked up, while I was there, I picked up a Wingnut Wings Fokker D7, the Fokker built.
That's right, you did too, yeah.
And I also, and I didn't even know this existed, but Guns have.
Oh, that's right, we saw that, yeah, didn't
Yeah,
we?
and I picked up a couple of bottles and tried it out. They've got what they call premium
Yeah.
flat clear, premium semi-gloss clear, and premium gloss clear. Now, I picked up some of their flat clear, And I don't know what's been happening with guns lately, but I've found, and I've spoken to a few people that have had the same problem, that no matter how much you shake and stir it, when you apply the flat clear, it goes on all right, but after about 5 minutes, you start getting white dots everywhere.
Oh.
And what I've been told and what I've read is that it's the talc seems to be balling up.
Yeah.
Whereas this premium, one coat, it's flat.
Really?
I always found that with guns. When you're applying guns paint, especially flat to a glossy surface, you apply your first coat, and then you put it aside for a week.
Yeah,
and you just watch it, and slowly over the week it goes from flat to a semi-gloss finish.
Wow.
So once you leave it for a week, then you can put your second coat on, and then leave that for a bit longer, and then put your third coat on, and then finally got a nice flat finish. But this stuff, bang, one hit and it was flat.
So did you thin it with anything, or just straight out of the bottle?
Oh, I'm one of those silly buggers. I thin it with what we call methylated spirits.
Yeah.
I find it dries quick.
Yeah, so denaturate.
Demineralized alcohol or something?
Something like that, yeah.
I don't know.
Denatured or something, yeah. Is what other people call it.
That's what I mix it with. I don't use their I use their thinners if I'm hand painting. I was quite happy with that score. That was really impressive.
It was a good little trip for us, wasn't it? I enjoyed that.
Yeah, picked up my the latest model art. Which
that's right. Yes. Dun, dun, dun. Ian is now published, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, they gave me 6 pages.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was quite happy with that. Yeah,
modelling magazine, 6-page spread. You'll be happy with that.
They've done a good job on the article. It looks quite good.
So, in the meantime, Ian's been running around buying as many copies of this magazine as he can.
That's why no one can buy any.
Oh, right.
If you want one, you got to see me.
Got a copy for his mother, as the old song goes, on the cover of the Rolling Stones.
Yes. Oh, jeez. I did show my mother, my elderly mother, and she just like raised an eyebrow and went, "Yep."
Oh, jeez, that's so funny.
But no, it was good. It was a good trip, good road trip that was.
Oh, great. All right, anything else before we move on, gents?
Oh, I've got a rumour.
Oh, yeah, go on.
I've got a rumour.
Yeah.
I think one of the latest shows they had in Japan.
Yep.
At the Tamiya stand, they had a screen there.
Mm.
And on the screen was a single little bit of sprue with a P38 lightning nose.
Yep.
And so there's also a photo going around of one of the museums in America with a whole heap of Japanese gentlemen crawling all over it with cameras and measuring devices. So there's a good chance that Tamiya in the future will be bringing out a lightning.
Was it a J or an F?
I think it was a J they were going over.
Well, yeah, you have to do the J. It's the main one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like the F. So the kit that I recently made is still relevant.
Yep.
I won't have to cry about having all the things I had to do to it.
And in other news, of course, we had that tragic event over in the UK with that model railroad club. The Deep Valley, I think it was.
Something like Deep Valley Market or something like that.
Yeah, you start talking about it and I'll dig out what it was.
Yeah, so what happened was there was a small exhibition of railroad models and 4 youths went in there and destroyed everything.
Yeah, overnight today, yeah. And like we're talking about people whose life's passions and stuff they've been working on for 20-odd years just got upended and smashed and it's just disgraceful. Absolutely
some of the stuff there had been in works for 25 years.
Yep. But someone started up a crowdfunding page for it and just asked for 500 quid. And I think they're up, how much?
£32,000.
£32,000 they've got now, which really shows that people do care.
And Rod Stewart donated 10,000. Although I don't know if the 10,000 is part of that 32,000 or if it's just more on top.
Yep. But good on him though. Apparently he's a railroad nut.
He's a railroad nut.
Yeah.
He goes on tour. He's got his little workstation.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah. Yeah. Rather than going out and partying and carrying on, now he just goes back to his hotel room and plays around with his trains.
Yeah.
I got to say, this event would have to be this incident have to be a wake up call to all clubs that put on modelling shows because. A lot of times you leave your beloved kit sort of there overnight on the weekend, or even you set up on the Friday sometimes, bump in on the Friday and set it up, and geez, you'd be really...
Well, part of the reason why it costs so much, I did read that I think it was one particular locomotive at the event was worth £8,000. and change. Because those things cost a lot of money, some of them.
Oh, some of them are really rare.
Yeah.
And they're all working models too. It's not like it's static,
I believe they're made out of, some of them are made out
Brass.
of brass.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so imagine if you'd bought a Wingnut Wings, God forbid this should ever happen, but if you entered a model show with your Wingnut Wings Lancaster or Felixstowe, after all that work you put in and considerable amount of money as well, and some
Shikaku.
and then some sort of gang of
malcontents.
delinquents comes in and sort of smashes it up. You'd be,
Just for fun.
yeah.
Because they're
I mean, it's
bored.
easy at that. Well, you've got well over 5 figures into yours, haven't you?
5,
Yeah.
4,
No.
1,200. That's 4 figures.
Oh, okay. 1,200. All right. I was trying to talk you up there, Ian.
5 figures.
5
Yeah,
figures.
well,
Whoa.
maths wasn't my
Jeez.
strong thing.
Wow.
Gee, you must really love modelling.
Exactly. You're going to spend 5
figure.
figures. Wow.
Oh, dear.
It certainly explained why you had an interest in buying that B whatever it is that. That great
when
big-
they were bringing out the Peacemaker in 48
the
scale. I was
Peacemaker,
like, that
yeah.
looks really cool. And then reality hit me, and I was like, I'll never build it, and it'll just take up so much space.
It'll take a lot more space than your Shikaku.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
What are you doing?
Exactly.
it will indeed. All right, well, let's move on and have a chat about our new segment, which is talking about model shows. And thank you very much to all of you who have sent in information. So Adam Griffin from New Zealand, g'day New Zealand. They've posted that it's going to be let me bring it up. The 2019 New Zealand IPMS National and Model Expo, which is going to be held on the 7th and 8th of September 2019 at the Air Force Museum of New Zealand. So put that in your calendar, ladies and gentlemen, and head down there for what will be a great show. Some great builders over there in New Zealand.
There's some good builders there.
There are.
Some very good builders in New Zealand.
In fact, we had a contingent come over to Melbourne once.
Correct.
A
yes.
couple of shows ago.
Yeah. Great bunch of guys too, they were.
The next model expo announcement is the IPMS San Diego. They've got the 2019 Model Expo. It's going to be held on Saturday the 1st of June. And let's have a read here. The San Diego Model Club, Model Car Club, in collaboration with the San Diego Air and Space Museum, will host the 2019 San Diego Model Expo at San Diego Air and Space Museum Annex on the north side of Gillespie Field. And the address for that is 335 Kenny Street, El Cajon, I guess, California. So if you head along to their website, and they'll have all the information in regards to what the categories are, etc., etc. But that's the IPMS San Diego, 1st of June. And I think I had one more.
Well, we got the important one. You forgot about the important one.
I'm coming to the important one. But there's another one going to be held on the 25th of May 2019. This is called the Bent, Broken, Wounded. It's the Torcan 2019 Model Expo. It's held at Century Gardens Recreation Centre, 340 Vaudan Street East, Brampton, Ontario. Open 9:30am till 5pm. They're saying they got over 145 vendor tables, raffle draw, snack bar, and plenty of on-site parking. I like the sound of that show. Bent, Broken and Wounded.
It does sound good, doesn't it?
Torcan 2019. And, of course, last but not least, we have got Model Expo here in Melbourne, Victoria, coming up in...
About 3 weeks, isn't it?
Oh, geez, we should have the actual date, shouldn't we?
It's Queen's
And the
birthday
address?
weekend.
I know, it's Queen's birthday
10th
weekend.
of June.
10th of June.
Thank you very much.
10th, 11th and 12th, isn't it? Goes for 3 days.
The 8th, 9th and 10th.
Oh, 8th, 9th
You can
and
tell.
10th.
You can tell. Dave's not too worried about getting things done for it because he's not even. He doesn't even know what the date is.
I do know
I'm
what the
seeing this
date is.
date looming and it's just bearing down.
Oh,
on
same
me.
here. Same here. Like the fear of not getting the Shikaku finished in time.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
Yeah.
just punching in the... Oh, geez, you fool.
Yesterday I set up all my boxes to house all my models, and I can put them, carry them in the car, take them down there.
Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow night. Because the big scary thing for me is I don't know if I've got enough room in my car for everything I'm bringing with me. And if I do, I won't be able to buy anything because I won't be able to take it home.
Nah, that'll be fine.
Strap it to the roof.
Australian Model Expo is going to be on the weekend of June 8th, 9th and 10th at the Sandown Racecourse in Springvale, Melbourne, Victoria. There you go, folks.
Yep, that's a huge show.
And, of course, we'll be recording from there as we did last year.
Yep.
Which will be really cool.
Probably get some good guests to have a chat with.
Yeah.
Just drag people off the floor and sit them down. And
I believe that hopefully we've got some people from Wingnut Wings coming over, so we'll definitely get them on the show and have a chat to them.
Yeah, I think Richard Alexander will be down.
Yep, so that'll be really cool. If we can get him and grab him for another interview. That's one of our most popular episodes, that one.
Yes, it was. Richard on.
And that, and also the one on the Lancaster that we did. So that was pretty cool. In other news, Ian, you sent me a link on a new movie that's coming out called Dauntless.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. Still not sure what to make of it, but some of the action scenes look all right. It's got Dauntless's attack. It looks like a Midway movie.
Yeah, it does look like a Midway movie. Well, the Midway movie, the remake.
Yeah.
So it didn't look too polished. So I'm hoping that the shots that I saw weren't the final finished product.
Yep.
Because it just looked a bit, I don't know, tinny, cheap.
I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard people call it a B-grade movie.
Oh, right.
Well,
is that about right? Because I haven't seen it
But
myself.
the original, you mean?
No, this
Oh, the new one, the remake of Midway. Oh, I don't know.
Is it the remake? Is it
Well,
the
No, it's not a remake. It's
not a remake, but it's a movie about Midway.
Midway, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's snuck in under the radar, hasn't it?
Yep.
So
It has really snuck in. Like, I had no idea, and all of a sudden I just saw a link. It's like, oh, hell, I haven't seen this before.
And I've been watching TV series Catch 22, which is
got
6 episodes.
With B25.
B25.
Love it.
Yo-Yo, Yazarian in there. Major is in there. So all the characters from the book is in there, and it's just...
what are the flight scenes like?
Well, you just see him flying through flak and dropping bombs, and that's it. There's no sort of nothing else.
Yep.
Most of the action or the interesting part takes place on the ground.
Yes. Yeah, like the original movie.
So the production values are high. I'm enjoying it. I'm up to episode 5 of 6. So definitely take the time out and go and have a look at it. And, there's a couple of inaccuracies in there when you sort of look at it. But, geez, to see, I think they probably had 3 real B-25s that they used, and the rest were just sort of, photo shopped or whatever, CGI'd into it.
Unlike the original.
But, they had about 10 or 15 of them, didn't they, in the original
pretty sure
movie?
they crashed one too.
Oh, okay.
During filming.
But I was reading somewhere now, I was listening to a radio and aviation show, podcast, and it might have been even the Aviation Geeks, I think, and they had a guy on who actually owns a B-25, and he restores it. But his company is to they restore and refurbish B-25s. And he said it was a Catch-22 movie that's actually responsible for leading to having so many B-25s flying today.
Yep.
So I thought it was pretty cool. It's a good show. Yeah, by all means, go and have a look at it.
Keep your eye on it. Yeah. Sounds good.
sounds all right.
Any other movies or anything like that you want to talk about before we go into what's new?
Not this, anything modelling or military.
Hang on,
Julian's got something.
I do have one thing that I forgot about. We haven't done what's new yet, have we?
No, we're about to.
I'll save it for that.
All right then. So let's roll straight into what's new. And first up, a little snippet that I found. Fantastic Plastic.
Yes, re-releasing.
They're re-releasing the Shield helicarrier, which
from
is
the Avengers movie.
1/400 scale.
1 to 1,400 scale.
Thank you. So we know I have trouble with numbers. So
you have a lot of trouble with numbers.
That's what you guys are here for.
How big is that?
It's got some pictures. So it's all resin with a bit of photo etch in there. There's 145 pieces. The pattern was done by Scott Lowther, cast by Manor Studios, and the photo etch brass is by Paragraphics, decals by J-Bot. This isn't a new one. This is a re-release, but
right.
It
Looks pretty cool.
looks to build a really nice kit if you're comfortable building with resin, because as much as that resin looks really gorgeous, and I think that the casting has been really, really good. Resin
Resin casting these days is really not what it used to be. It's a lot better. I remember the early years when some of the resin casting you used to get was just shocking, and it stunk. Some of that stuff really, really stunk.
It doesn't look very big. It looks very small, actually. I mean, well, yeah, you think about it, it's like...
Then again, the Shield helicarrier is a big beast.
How big? Yeah, but that's the thing, right? How big do you...
It's an aircraft carrier that flies.
Yeah, I know, exactly. So by that measure, it's going to be half the length of a 700 scale regular aircraft carrier, right?
Well, you'd be looking at the same, if not similar size to a 700 scale Enterprise or something like that.
Or a Nimitz class.
Yeah, Nimitz class for sure. So
it looks all right.
Yeah, I reckon it builds up to be a really nice kit.
And what is it? $135 US.
Which isn't a bad price for what you're getting, actually. So, yeah.
Yep. All
right, let's see what is coming from Amusing Hobbies. Amusing Hobbies have announced the VF217 Badger, which, pardon me, is a British heavy tank destroyer, which was one of those paper panzers made famous by the computer game World of Tanks.
It looks like they had a wooden mock-up of it anyway.
Yeah, the British actually sort of were looking at doing this, but never sort of got any further than the drawing board. And, of course, World of Tanks has made it an interesting model that people now want to purchase. So
I reckon they would have made those things to try and take out the King Tigers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Looks like the tracks are actually the same sort of tracks that the Centurion used, so it looks interesting.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes out for that. No idea when the release date's going to be or anything like that, but if you just keep your eyes on Amusing Hobby, I'll dare say that you'll find out in the near future when that's being released. From Bronco, they have announced they're releasing a Canadian cruiser tank, which is the Ram Mark II early production. I know our Canadian friends are getting very excited about this. It's in 1/35th scale. Not a particularly attractive looking tank.
So what is it, basically I think it's Sherman, doesn't it?
It does look part Sherman, but I think it's got more in common with the M3 Lee.
Right, yep.
Because it's got those distinctive little hatches on the side.
The little blurb here says that in 1940, the Canadian government decided to build a cruiser tank for the Canadian Army using parts from the US M3 Lee.
Yep.
The first pilot tank was ready by November 41 using the entire M3 lower hull, but with a new cast upper hull and turret. The first 50 tanks were designated the Ram Mark I and mounted a 2-pounder gun. However, the main production version would be the Mark II and the powerful 6-pounder anti-tank gun. Unfortunately, the 6-pounder was not ready in April 42, and by this time the American M4 Sherman was entering mass production.
Which would have put an end to it.
Yeah, so a nice little local product by our Canadian friends. Much like our attempt to build tanks in World War II. Sentinel, yeah. Anyway. Kitty Hawk have announced a new Cobra. It is the AH-1W Whiskey Cobra in 1/48 scale. There's quite a few helicopter fans who've been really waiting for this. And we know Kitty Hawk can be interesting in the way they do things. So it'll be interesting to see how this model actually turns out.
Yep.
And I'll be keen to see if there's any available at the show that we go to next month, just to have a look at it.
Yep.
Mini Art have announced they're doing a Focke-Wulf Triebelflug interceptor in 1/35th scale. You've got one of these, Ian, haven't you? Not in this particular...
In 1/35th scale?
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it?
That's an unusual scale for an actual aircraft.
Now, this is a Luft 46 aircraft.
It's a 35th scale because of the fact that it's like a chopper kind of thing.
I see.
Maybe.
Yep.
I'm sure you've built one of these in a different scale, haven't you?
I built the old Planet Models resin one in 48 scale.
Okay.
I just reckon they're just a cool looking thing.
Oh, they are.
It's just bizarre.
quite a highly detailed model.
An absolute death trap.
Yes.
There's no way of bailing out of that
I don't
thing.
think it'd ever work.
You wouldn't be able to bail out. And trying to land, you wouldn't be able to land it without crashing it.
Yeah, with no computer-aided assistance.
Exactly.
The model is quite detailed, actually. So it's got parts where you can take out to expose the four cannons. The undercarriage looks quite detailed as well. And
quite fragile.
Yes. Yeah, you think, it's got that main wheel at the bottom. So it's got 5 wheels that it sits on. So that should be okay to take the weight. Any thoughts, Ian? You're the sort of expert in this particular area.
It looks good. It's just for me, it's just a weird scale for an aeroplane.
Let's have a look now at what Hasegawa, they're announcing their July new and limited edition kits. There's some interesting stuff coming out here. We have the VF-31E Siegfried Chuck Use Macross Delta in 1/72nd scale. I've got no idea what that is.
It's an aircraft thingy from a anime.
Okay. I'll accept your pearls of wisdom there on that one, Julian. Next up in 1/24th scales, a Toyota Starlet EP71 Turbo S.
It's a car.
It's a little box.
It's a late production type. Price is going to be about 3,200 yen. There's not much more we can say about that.
Little 4-cylinder city car. Yay!
I mean, I'm struggling to think of any car modelers who I know of who would even be interested in this. It appeal to some people.
I don't know, man. I've seen a Toyota Starlet built into a what do they call it when a car is faster than it appears? A
rice burner.
What? No.
A sleeper.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it looked so...
What, in real life, you mean?
Well, it was photos.
Oh, okay.
Of someone selling one on Craigslist or something like that. Yeah, it was one of these sort of things. And this one's got all these sort of extra, spoilers and
the big turbo riding on the side. Okay.
Bumps on the bonnet and extra flare and trim and stuff. No, the one I saw was actually just a plain faded red color, and he'd completely rebuilt the engine and everything. And it was see, a lot of people don't use the term sleeper in the way it should be used. They think, fast car at the sleeper. It's like, no, the sleeper is a car that looks like it's slow.
So I'm one of those people that these guys hate, because whenever I see him, I just go, okay, geez, you got a nice lawnmower, mate.
All right, next, they've announced,
that's a re-release from the 1980s.
Egg World God Fighter, Zero Fighter, and Wolf Panic, which is an FW190.
I remember seeing them in the 80s.
Both in egg versions. They come with
bases.
If you want to call them a base. If you like eggplanes, it's going to certainly appeal to you, because it's, as Ian said, it's a re-release of a kit, although they're saying 2019 new on the boxing there, Ian. So,
mate, I think I've still got an original Hasegawa catalogue from the 80s that's got these things in them.
Well, there you go. Still on the eggplane gravy train, they're doing the Fire Monster F2 and the Midnight Witch T4 egg-scale kits. Yes.
Now, I remember the Midnight Witch actually came out with another kit.
Oh, right.
So when they say Fire Monster F2, it's a little eggplane
Godzilla.
with a Godzilla coming out of the water and breathing fire.
And it looks like a Thor, cartoon Thor.
I don't know. It'll appear to maybe kids.
The best one they ever done was the Phantom one, because that had the little Phantom caricature given the peace sign.
Yeah.
And they did a good space shuttle one that came with a little Earth and an astronaut.
Next up, in 1/24th scale, is 2 figurines, which are 2 girls in one box. They're fashion figures, both in mini skirts. And I think we'll just scroll on and.
I quite like those things. They look like.
Oh, do you? Do you now? Julian?
I wouldn't buy one.
Oh, do you?
But the way that they seem to really capture the way the Japanese depicted their women in the 1980s. Like in old cheesy 1980s movies.
Yes.
It has that kind of. I mean, obviously that's a dead giveaway because it's probably an old kid, right?
Oh, I've got no idea. It's not saying it's a new one, but it's not saying, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. It just that's what I see when I watch it. You know.
And the craziness continues from Hasegawa with a Jet Beetle W dash.
Oh, with. That's with.
What? Oh,
Jet
with, I beg your pardon. A Jet Beetle with Akio Corpse Figure Ultra in 1/72 scale.
That looks like something out of Buck Rogers.
Doesn't
Well, actually, if you look above the little Japanese writing for the main name of it, it actually says Ultraman.
Ultraman.
Right, okay.
Ah, good old Ultraman.
So,
I remember watching those cartoons as a kid.
So the actual flying ship is in 1/72 scale, and yet the figure that comes with it is 1/24 scale.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a weird mix-up.
It's a package deal.
Oh, okay.
I reckon it looks pretty cool.
It's very Thunderbirds looking, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, I don't know. It's retro Thunderbirds.
Oh,
if
very
anything.
retro. Very retro. I love it.
Yeah. Now, the next one's really sparked my interest because I reckon it just looks cool. It's in 1/72 scale. They're doing an A10 Thunderbolt 2 UAV. So
Do those things exist?
No, they don't. So it's a theoretical drone version of the A10 Warthog to represent a future unmanned attack aircraft.
What a scary thought.
And this thing just looks super, super cool. So just imagine your regular A10.
Being controlled by a 12-year-old kid 1,200 kilometres away in front of his computer screen.
With an Xbox controller.
Trying to describe the model.
It looks like an A10 with a blindfold.
Yes.
Just imagine your A10 with your cockpit removed and just a blank piece placed over where the cockpit once resided.
The blank thing over where the cockpit used to be kind of reminds me. It makes me look a bit like the aliens, from H.R. Geiger and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, yes, it does. Yes. The top car post.
Yeah, it's got that
head.
eerie look of like a beast that has no eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez,
Look, I reckon it does. It does look pretty good.
I could be always tempted to get there.
But it's not your scale, Dave.
I know.
It's also
but-
not real.
I know, but yeah, damn, it looks good. All right, little
Mechatro.
Mechatro, mate.
Number 2, black and mono.
Momo.
Momo, black and Momo. Sorry.
They're just two weird robots.
So the one on the left is called Black and the other one's called Momo.
And they're basically two little robots. The black one looks like he's in a dinner suit, but they've got digital number 8s for eyes.
Yeah.
Very bizarre.
Well,
They must reference something.
this would suit, and this is. I wouldn't mind building this for my grandkids. Speaking of which, I'm a grandfather again today.
Hey, well done.
Grandfather
Congratulations.
number 5, grandchild number 5.
Wow.
Slipped out. That's perhaps the wrong word.
So you've got 5.
Was born today, this morning.
Yep.
At about 8:30. 8 pounds 6 for those of you who are interested. Mother and child doing extremely well. Sienna is her name,
Nice.
and it gives me 5 grandkids now.
Okay, so that's 5 grandchildren, 5 chances you've got to rope them into modelling.
Yeah.
Well, I believe I've already got one of the other little girls already hooked, little Evelyn, because
Okay.
I built her that little teddy bear.
The Gundam
Gundam thing, yeah.
Yep.
So she's hooked.
Mm-hmm.
Next step is to take them to a model hobby shop.
Yeah.
And so the eldest 2, one's 5, the other one's about 4.5. Evelyn's 4.5, and my eldest grandchild, he's 5 now, and they both love Lego. So the hook's there with a Lego.
Lego's a gateway drug for modelers.
I'm hoping so.
It was for me.
It was for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, it was. Oh, yeah, actually, I was. Yeah,
And seriously,
yeah.
look, honestly, if I had the time, I'd probably get stuck into it again. I used to love the old Lego.
Yeah, at the moment here in Australia, we've got there's like a Lego TV
I just
show.
finished. Yeah, I
Just
watched it. It was
finished, yes.
awesome.
I haven't watched it because
That
I think
was-
it's silly.
No, it's
No,
called
I'm-
Lego.
I'm a modeler now. I don't play
Lego
with Lego.
Masters.
It's called Lego Masters. They had 6 teams of 2 people, and they had to compete each week and build whatever they got told to build.
But the final was great. The winners were well deserved. They did like a diorama of a Greek trimarine being attacked by a sea serpent with a big wave, and there's Poseidon behind the big wave with his big trident pointing at the sea serpent. It was just so well executed.
my favourite episode where they had to build a bridge and whichever one held the most weight won.
Yes.
That's my kind of building.
Yes.
Yeah, with Lego.
Okay.
I like that sort
I
of
think
stuff.
I've had like daydreams of doing stuff like that when I was a kid.
Oh, okay.
Back to the modelling.
Back to the modelling.
That's the modelling. Yeah.
And that's it from Hasegawa, and that's all I've got. I believe you've got something, Julian, you were saying.
Yeah, so Games Workshop, who make the Warhammer stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah, they have partnered with Bandai,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
Yes.
they have a great big Gundam version of a Space Marine.
Yes.
7-inch
With all
full
the-
articulated. It's
Yeah.
It's going to be an action figure though.
Doesn't matter.
No, it's a model you build it.
No,
What?
no, it's going to be an action figure.
I thought it was a model
No.
you build.
I don't
No.
know.
No,
Is it?
7-inch fully articulated.
Well, in any case, doesn't mean you can't paint it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Exactly.
the Star Wars guys actually have. There are certain toys that have been released,
Mhm.
and they just modify those toys to make. Because you can get like a toy that's like this huge Millennium Falcon, and they just take this toy, break it open, and then they start modifying
Mate,
it.
I remember when I was a kid, I had a Battlestar Galactica,
Mm-hmm.
and it came with these little foam Vipers, and
Right.
I had like this little spring-operated catapult. That was great till I lost the Vipers and broke the springs, but I had months upon months of fun with that thing.
But the cosplay crowd go and do that. They'll go and buy a toy rifle or a toy gun and they'll modify it, and
that's
paint
it.
it and do,
Yeah.
highlights to it. So it's
Well, I remember, like speaking of the Games Workshop, I don't know if Julian's ever seen this, but there's some guy in England who's, I don't know if anyone, at least for the listeners that are familiar with the Games Workshop and especially the Warhammer 40k, but there's a guy in England who's actually making a 1-to-1 scale dreadnought.
What?
what?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
How do you do a 1-to-1 scale dreadnought?
Mate, this thing is freaking huge. The legs are taller than he is.
Well, they have to be. Yeah, they would have to
It
be.
is massive. Won't be able to walk or anything
Yeah, this
because
is-
it's not feasible for something like
So
that
if
to
you
walk.
our listeners who don't know what a dreadnought is in Warhammer,
An armored sarcophagus on legs.
yeah, it's basically like a mech thing. It's like a rig robot thing, but it's very industrial looking. It's got big, short, stumpy legs, and it doesn't have any arms. It just has weapons.
Oh, some of them have got arms.
Oh, that's right.
breaching claws.
Yeah, the claw type things.
But in the center, they've got like a badly injured space marine that cannot no longer fight. So they put him in like
They seal him inside this thing.
seal him inside this thing.
Yeah, for the Emperor.
And if you're for the bad guy with the chaos, well, then they just put the most insane person inside one.
For the Emperor.
No, that's for against the emperor.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know my Space Marine lore that well,
Yeah.
so
I used to be right into it years and years ago, but
yeah.
then I got
Yeah.
to the more serious modelling.
Well, good luck with them because if that's something of that size would be very heavy.
It's pretty impressive, yeah. It's pretty impressive. So far, the guy's got the legs done and started work on the main torso. But this thing is just freaking huge.
It's
It is
interesting.
massive. He's got like his gantry he's had to build to get up.
Yeah,
into
yeah,
it.
I would think so. Yeah.
If you see any photos, put a link onto our Facebook
Yeah, I'll try and
page.
find
Yeah,
some
that'd be
photos
awesome.
again and show it.
that'd
But
be
yeah, that's 1-to-1 scale modelling. That's taking it to the next level.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of that Killdozer guy. Remember him? The guy that just got really angry and decided he was gonna
Oh,
take
that
it.
happened in the States. I was
Yeah.
reading about that recently, and he sealed himself in a D9 or something.
Yeah,
that he-
yeah.
That he'd
But-
armoured and
Yeah, he armored it. It was all
Yeah.
made out of like what was it, barbecue plates or
Yeah.
something like that. It was concrete sandwiched with steel on
Yeah.
either
Yeah.
side, and they couldn't get into it
No.
with anything at all. The best they could do was shoot out its cameras
Yep.
because he had cameras set up so he didn't have to
Have
have any
vision slits.
vision slots
Yeah.
or anything.
And he locked himself in with full intentions of that.
Yeah,
it's
so he had a
one-way
great
trip.
big gantry or something
Yeah.
like that to drop the armored top over the cab, and that's how he was sealed in.
It was a one-way
Yeah, so
trip.
once you're in there for good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so shall we have a short break and
Yep.
we'll come back to talk about building aircraft? How's that sound?
Sounds great.
All right. Back very shortly. And we're back to have our chat about building aircraft. I don't think we've actually done an episode of Go to Woe about building aircraft yet,
Well, we build a lot of aircraft.
which is,
We do talk about it a bit.
yeah, but amazing. We haven't sort of dedicated one episode yet to it, considering we've got so many episodes out so far. We haven't really sort of sat down and spoken about getting the box home and unpacking it and then starting the build. So let's dive in, shall we?
Sure.
I think we shall.
Where do you want to start?
Well, don't we start where we normally start with an aircraft, and that's the cockpit?
Oh, that's a good
Or
point.
do you?
No, I definitely start with the
Yeah,
cockpit.
always start with interior.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Always.
Because as soon as you get like the fuselage closed up, that's downhill from there, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like I think because you can spend a lot of time detailing a cockpit, but if you blow through it really quickly, an aircraft is pretty easy to knock out.
Well, before we dive into that part of it, so aircraft come in a range of scales. So they come in 1/700 scale, 1/350 scale.
1/700 scale?
Yeah.
Yeah, you built some.
Oh, yeah, but that's not the same. It comes with a ship, doesn't it?
Still an aircraft.
Still an aeroplane, mate.
1/144th scale, Dave scale.
Yep.
1/72nd scale.
Gentleman scale.
1/76 scale for the older style kits.
Oh, then you had some of those Revell kits that were in the box scale.
Yeah. 1/48th scale.
Yes.
1/32nd scale.
Yep.
Yep. 1/24th.
1/24th scale.
Yep.
1/18th.
1/18th scale.
Yes.
I think that's about it. We covered all the scales.
That's the main scales anyway. There'd be a few thrown in there as
Yeah,
well.
there'd be a couple of weird ones in there.
I only
but,
know one kid in at 1/18th.
What's that?
That's that great big Dauntless. Have you ever seen that?
No, what's that one?
Oh,
Yeah,
you
there's
should
a-
see the size of it.
It's huge.
Looks like a keg.
What, the dive bomber Dauntless?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
In-
Yeah, SBD.
Really? In 1/18th scale?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's massive.
Oh, jeez, what was that? It's Ian's phone going off, everybody.
Damn it.
It's Godzilla.
Godzilla. I should turn it off.
That'd be cool. So you really choose what scale. So what is scale you're comfortable with? You purchase it and bring it home.
Well-
so you've chosen your aircraft, you've brought it home, you're unpacking it, and you're going to start first with the cockpit.
So with scales,
Yep.
I find that 72nd scale is very popular with older generation modelers, the original guys.
Yes. Gentleman scale.
The first generation of modelers, I would say. Very popular in the UK because they don't have a lot of room. We've got a bit more room, so I think 48 scale is the most popular here.
Yeah, but 1/72nd scale really lends itself well to the large aircraft like bombers and
true.
and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you can, you still got enough detail in there without going too blind.
And 32nd scale. And
Well, 30-second scale's become quite popular in the last few years.
It has.
It has. There's a lot of good 30-second scale kits coming out.
yeah.
And then you got some companies that dumping the 1/24th scale. Airfix has been,
Yeah.
well
they're
renowned.
releasing their Hellcat, and
Yeah.
they're releasing now. A future release will be the, I think, the car door Typhoon
Yeah.
to go along with the bubble top Typhoon
Well,
in 24 scale.
So they're doing 2 Typhoons now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's two.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the cockpit, you reckon? Everybody's in agreement we start with the cockpit?
Yep, start with the cockpit.
All right, well, let's talk about the cockpit then.
Mm-hmm.
So this has always been my quandary as an aircraft builder. How much detail do you go into, given that when you close that thing up,
you don't see much
you're
of
not
it.
going to see much at all?
Well, it depends what
If
the aircraft is. Like, I've fallen in that pitfall myself a few times. Like, I remember I did the old monogram B-25 Mitchell, and I went bananas in the back of it. Absolutely bananas. Just detailed and really did what I thought at the time was a great job in the interior, and closed the fuselage halves up, and you can't see hardly anything.
Yeah.
It's like all that work I've put in there, you just don't see anymore.
The
But
fact
like a
that-
single seat fighter or something
Yeah.
like that, where you got an open canopy, like a bubble top aircraft, you just look into it, and yes, you can see most everything.
Well, yes and no. A lot of American aircraft have that round tube-shaped fuselage, which means the inside of the cockpit fall away to the sides.
Yep,
When you get past the
sill.
the windowsill, you can't see that.
Mm.
If you because most cockpits you can't see much detail. I don't even bother with any kind of shading. I don't prime cockpits. I'll just prime straight on the plastic.
Yeah.
I'll prime the rest of it.
Yeah.
I just won't prime the cockpit.
So unless, of course, you're displaying it with the canopy open, then by all means, go
Tell you what,
hell for leather.
I know one aircraft that's got a huge cockpit, which surprised me, was the what is it? The Mitsubishi Raiden.
Oh, that thing, yeah.
That's got a massive cockpit inside there.
Yeah.
And you could fit 3 Japanese pilots in sitting side by side in that thing.
Yeah, I believe Robert, who is our resident Japanese aircraft specialist, he said they had a few problems with the cockpit was too large. The canopy was too large that they actually found reflections
Oh, right.
to the
coming
guy
back. Yep.
flying it,
Okay.
which makes it hard to see out, you know.
So within the cockpit, your 2 major areas you're going to be looking at is the seat and the instrument panel.
Instrument panel,
Yeah.
or your levers.
Yeah.
In the past, a lot of kits didn't have anything in the way of seat belts.
Mm-hmm.
They might give you a decal, something like that.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where a lot of people just used to use masking, well, to me, tape,
Paper.
paper. Edward then came out with their photo etch
Yep.
seat
Seat
belts.
belts, yep.
They can be
I
good.
remember when they came out, I'd spent a couple $100, just bought packets upon packets of them, which now I don't use because now if I with seatbelts, I'll just try and get an aftermarket resin seat complete with seatbelts,
Yeah.
If you can.
molded in.
Ultracast to them.
Yes.
I will go for them every single time if
They're
possible.
beautiful seats.
But, you can't always.
Can't
It was one of
always
the
go.
reasons why I
Yeah.
like the Helldiver. Because you can get ultracast resin seats.
Isn't it also HGW do the paper?
No, they do the
Fabric
super fabric.
Yeah, they come
As
with
they
their own
say.
little. And I've got a few sets of those, and they look really, really tricky because you actually got to thread them through their buckles and everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're kidding me.
In 48 scale, I've tried it.
Yeah.
I gave up because if I was going to do it now, if I had to attempt it now, and I could maybe. I don't know. It depends on, like I said, it all comes down to like how much effort are you prepared to go to
Yep.
for a significant increase in quality and
Yep.
detail.
Yep.
And they do look the part. They expect you to, like they say that when you use the super fabric seatbelts, you're supposed to use like oil washes and things like that on them.
Yeah.
They are not coloured on the back, so usually you have to paint them to some degree. They have a backing paper kind of thing, so they're thicker than you think they are when you first get them. And also, it's easier to thread the belts through the buckles, the photo etch buckles, if you leave the buckles on the photo etch fret and then cut them off after you've threaded them on.
Okay.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yep, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because let me tell you, there is zero margin for like error. Like if it's like 2.00001 millimeters wide on that belt, that's exactly how wide the buckle hole is.
Yep.
And good luck to you trying to like thread it when you've got it off of the fret.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be difficult.
You may
Very
not even
difficult.
have enough, because like if you bend it in any way, like you're not getting that belt through there.
Yeah.
And they're also pretty springy. They're not as loose and flowy as real fabric is because they're tiny, right? There's too much tension in it, so you do have to glue them down, much like you do photo etch belts.
So interiors is one of the 3 areas of the aircraft that you can really go to town with aftermarket stuff.
Yep.
I mean, these days, the amount of instrument panels you can buy that are already pre-painted
Oh, you got
and everything.
the Yahoo instrument panels.
Yeah.
They look fantastic. See, if that comes, you could speak for ages on the instrument panels. What do you prefer? Do you prefer to use the kit decals? Do you prefer to paint it?
Yeah.
I reckon probably the 2 things that you could probably do that have the most impact in any cockpit is chipping on your seat and seat belts.
And a good instrument
A
panel.
good instrument panel.
Well, I don't know about that because like most kits come with a decal for your instrument panel, and even if you're just laying that straight over like molded plastic, you put enough decal softener down, it's just gonna hug. It's gonna come right down.
Look, I'd agree that if you're going to have the canopy closed because it's going to get distortion through the plastic canopy, so you're not really going to see that crisp detail. But if you're certainly opening it up and having the it displayed with the cockpit open, you've got to go down the road. And if the kit doesn't come with a decent instrument panel, you've got to go down the road of getting aftermarket stuff.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
I got a question. So then, have you ever seen a model where you thought, "Oh, that instrument panel doesn't look very good"?
From a kit manufacturer, you mean?
Any model that you've seen built? Have you looked at the
someone
cockpit?
else's built? You mean?
And thought, "Oh, that instrument panel's a bit lacking." It never happens.
That's a
Yeah, because everyone always.
bad.
Yeah.
That's a darn good question you've posed there.
It never happens. Your instrument panel is like, as long as you can see dials and things on there, you're like, oh, okay, it's an instrument panel.
Yeah, but I've seen some of the guys, building things like an NFA 18, for example, and they go to the degree
They're
where you
more
get
visible,
the decals of the display screens and everything on it, and they really stand out, especially in the larger scales, the 148 scale
And 32.
and 32. Yeah, they really jump out at you. So,
Well, usually
think-
those things are all black, right? Black on black on black.
No,
all the way
well-
through the cockpit. If there's any color other than black, it's grey. And there's, unlike most other aircraft, like World War II aircraft, you've always got the instrument combing covering the instrument panel, so you can't see it too well.
I think I'll challenge you that because in a modern aircraft cockpit, there's a lot of colour inside a modern aircraft, a jet fighter cockpit, because you got all the levers and knobs.
I
and
agree with you on the
dials
modern
and-
ones. Yeah, it's different on modern.
Yeah, the World War II stuff, and even
But then you got to go think, should those monitors be on if there's no one sitting in the seats?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes, if there's no one in the seat and the thing's turned off, well, yeah, most of those monitors should just be either very
Blank.
dark green or black screens.
Yeah, so I've done the Kitty Hawk Viper AH-1Z, and I just gloss blacked the monitors
Screen, yeah.
because they're off
Mm.
and they're glossy and they're shiny, they're glass or whatever it is, and that's how I did mine.
And here's another question: pilot or no pilot?
Well, I was you beat me to
There's
it
a friend
because
of mine over
Yeah.
who lives in Eastern Europe. He always puts pilots in his aircraft.
See, I hate pilots in aircraft.
Always,
I hate
always.
them.
Him and me have got this running joke that he always has to have pilots, and I don't use pilots.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Which was really weird when I did the Shikaku because I put pilots in freaking 1 to 350 scale aircraft.
A fellow modeler I know of, he does all these aircraft in flight. So his main problem is closing up the landing gear wheel wells. Most kits are not designed for that.
Correct.
And they won't fit in there. They require a lot of puttying and sanding and then scribing and whatever else. I don't know what he goes
Mind
up
you,
to.
the new Airfix kits are set up that you can.
They are. And I've said to him, why don't you just build Airfix kits till the end of your days? But I guess he's interested elsewhere. And the other thing is finding pilots and good pilots, and then positioning the head so that it doesn't look like he's race car driving, facing straight ahead kind of thing.
And a lot of the pilots, it's just they're just sitting there with their hands on one hand on each leg.
Yeah, exactly.
On the thighs, on the upper thighs of their legs.
But what I have seen is some people they'll do in the modern aircraft. They won't have the pilot in there, but they'll have his helmet sitting on the
that's right.
On the sill or on the seat. Yep.
That looks pretty cool. So I'd probably go that far.
Yep.
That looks pretty cool.
But if you're going to do that, you may as well put in the ladder type thing as well, won't you?
Oh yeah.
Not always. There's not. You don't always have that option though.
No, you don't. You have to either
the
scratch
boarding
build
ladder,
it,
yep.
either scratch build it yourself, or see if you can get an aftermarket one.
Yeah.
And for each aircraft that got specific ladders, that's not an easy thing.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's always nice if it comes with it, isn't it?
Totally agree.
Oh, absolutely.
Totally agree.
So you got your cockpit. Now you're going to seal up the actual
Fuselage
fuselage.
tails, yes.
But you've got to do a couple of considerations before you do that. Number one, you got to test fit to make sure that when you close it up, it's actually going to marry it up and the
You're not going to have any gaps.
cockpit isn't causing you any issues closing up that
Well,
particular
it shouldn't
kit.
unless you've put like something resin in.
Well, I know some of those wingnut wing kits, you can't put paint on the outside of the framing of the cockpit because otherwise that coat of paint will leave a gap on the fuselage
Well,
hose.
it depends how much paint you put on.
The engineering is so tight.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't see how that's that much of an issue. You just scrape that paint off.
We just don't paint that section. Simple.
Yeah.
So you got really, what's it called? Fettle the model? You don't like that word,
Nah, I
do
don't.
It sounds rude.
Yeah, it does.
you? But the other thing you can consider too before you close up the fuselage is it a trike or is it a tail dragger?
Oh, yep.
Because
So the
you've
nose
got to
weight.
put
Nose
the
weight.
nose weights in. So what's the best way you guys do with nose weights?
Well, a friend of mine was selling by the 1 to 2 kilo bags of shotgun pellets,
Okay.
and with a bit of white glue,
Yeah.
woodworking glue, just I remember when I did my B25, monogram B25. That's a dreaded tail setter.
Yeah.
So every conceivable, and it was a glass nose too. So every conceivable spot that was hidden was filled up with these shotgun pellets. Even what I did is I worked out everything forwards the main undercarriage wheels, the big wheels, everything forwards that you couldn't see, I put in shotgun pellets. Like this thing weighs. I'm surprised it hasn't collapsed the undercarriage yet because it weighs a lot. So you just got to make sure when you build this thing, you got enough nose weight in there that it's not going to sit on its bum.
Yeah.
I know one aircraft you can get away with if it sits on its bum, and that's the what's it, the
Tiger Cat.
Yeah, the Tiger Cat F7F, isn't it?
I think it might
Because
be.
when it was empty,
They sat on their bums.
they sat on their bums.
Yeah, because it was actually the weight of the pilot that would level the aircraft out.
But getting back to putting some weight in there, you've also got to be very careful as to how you fix that weight, those pellets in there, whatever you're using, fish sinkers or whatever, because
don't use super glue because you'll melt it'll look great, and then the next morning you'll go look at it, you'll have the whole front end of it will just be melted away.
Exactly
melted away.
Yeah. Ask Chris. Happened to him once.
What do you mean melted away?
It just
I remember. He put. I don't know. Actually, I don't even know if he used super glue, but whatever glue he used with the weight reacted because he used lead weights, and it reacted with I think it was a F-16 or something he was building, and the whole nose cone just turned into this putty.
Really?
Yep.
Well, what I've heard, and recently, Robert, our Japanese aircraft specialist, he's building a roof which is like a zero with floats.
Yep.
And I've been making fun of him mercilessly
about having a roofie. Because
it has a nose weight thing inside the float to keep the front down. It rattles every time you pick it up.
Oh no, didn't he glue it in place?
No, he hasn't glued it in place on purpose. He's just basically glued in like a little firewall so that it stays in the front, and he has it loose in there.
Why would
it
he
drives
do
me
that?
drives me nuts. I can't stand it. Right? I don't want to hear like rattling things in my models.
Yeah. Yeah, but once you finish, you put it on you put it in the case. You're not going to rattle. You're not going to hear it rattle once it's in the case.
I'm just saying.
Unless you're one of those people that picks it up and runs around the
no,
engine room.
I don't do that. But anyway, his
I'll
thing.
bet you Julian does.
No, I don't. I absolutely. I'm against it. I'm against it. I'm actually.
Don't tell me you've never gotten an aeroplane and gone. Brrr.
No.
You're not a modeler then.
Whatever. Anyway, so
we all have.
his thing is apparently there are situations where like the lead will swell or something like that and break open. If you glued it all the way into extreme things, it'll soak in things from super glue or something like that, and it'll break open and split open your model.
I haven't heard of that happening.
Well,
but hey,
it depends if you use like some sort of expanding poly something.
Well, I could be getting it wrong,
foam.
but he had a specific reason for it, and it drives me nuts. Right now, what I use is I have some of Ushi's, which is kind of convenient because you got all some stuff that you bought from him.
Yep.
I got his lead putty. So it's lead, but it's mushy, and you just squish it in there, and I don't touch the stuff.
You mean it's mushy from mushy?
Yeah. Right, yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
Anyway, so it's okay. Anyway, so it's putty type stuff, and it's it's lead, it's heavy, and I don't touch the stuff because I really don't want to get lead in my system in any way, shape, or form.
You can wear gloves,
I know. I'll just grab a plastic bag and stick that over my hand and then squish that crap in there.
Do you wear a respirator when you paint?
I haven't until very recently.
So I think handling lead's going to bother you too much then.
I do now. That's all right. So that stuff is really good because you can squish it in anywhere, right? Because there are some times, like with the lead shot, little balls, there are spaces between those balls that aren't being taken up by weight.
They are about 1.5 mil.
Oh,
they are
really
freaking tiny little lead balls.
Okay, so
they're shotgun pellets. They're tiny.
Yeah, I know, but some when I imagine them to be like 3 mil wide or something.
No, they're tiny.
Some model manufacturers actually recommend a specific weight to put in those.
And there was, I don't know if they're still around, but I have heard of a company in America that actually made weights shaped. Lead weights shaped for specific aircraft.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So it was a fair while ago that was, or?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Some of our American listeners may know, and
Yeah.
if they do, let us know if they're still around. But yeah,
Yeah, by all means, drop us a line at onthebench64@gmail.com.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
I've made a few sort of nose weight orientated kits lately, and I've just been using that putty stuff.
I'm with Ian. I'd be using a PVA wood glue to secure it in there because
Yeah.
I know it's not going to react to the styrene. Although it's probably a little bit slower in setting,
yes.
but it is what it is.
And if you're a bit concerned, just make sure you where you glue it, just give it time to vent, so you don't close the whole thing up yet until it's solidified and hardened.
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of the problems is. A lot of the glues in that get hot
Yes, as they're going off.
As they're going off. And that's where you start getting, as I said, with someone I know, that the nose cone of their fighter jet got all mushy and...
It's like concrete gets hot as it goes off,
Yeah.
the chemical reaction.
Yeah. Exactly.
Concrete sets in water.
Also,
You can pour
super glue.
concrete in the bottom of your swimming pool and it'll go off. It'll set.
Yeah, the Romans invented. The Romans had the best concrete around. The ancient Romans. But that's getting away from aeroplanes anyway.
That's right. So closing up the fuselage.
Yep.
Unless it's got a warp in it, I just glue it all in one go.
Do you really?
Yeah.
You don't. I'm a bit of a...
Make your
by
way
step.
around the edge.
No, what I'll do, I'll get some Tamiya tape and I'll use that to sort of close up the fuselage. And then in sections, I'll get my Tamiya extra thin and
that's
just...
waiting for disaster to happen doing it that way.
Why?
Because if that to me a thin gets underneath your tape,
No.
then it runs down and you go to pull the tape off and it just mars the finish.
Let me explain it a bit better. So I'll have maybe 8 bits of tape around the fuselage, and the section I'm putting the glue on, I'll take the tape off that particular area and then glue that.
Wait for it to dry.
Yeah.
Put the tape back on.
Yep. I find that with a Tamiya extra thin, which I love using, to do it on an entire aircraft fuselage in one go and then slap it together, it goes off too quick.
It'll go off before you're about a third of the way through.
So I'm intrigued as to how you do it then, Julian.
Well, okay. So how I do it is I run my Tamiya extra thin all the way around on both sides. Right. So I do left side, then right side, then I'll do another final run on the left, and then close it up, and I'll squish them together so that the plastic oozes out slightly.
Don't you end up with a slightly narrower aircraft?
No.
You have no idea.
I haven't. To be honest, I haven't thought about it till now, but I don't care. In any case, I basically my whole thing is I use the plastic itself as the filler for most of the situation.
Yeah, because it goes soft and mieable, and then those two.
Yep, and then it squeezes out a little bit, and then you just got to scrape a little bead of plastic off the top after it's all dry.
That's why people use MEK
Yeah.
to glue their fuselage halves together. Well, that stuff's toxic though.
Yeah.
Methyl ethyl ketone, dangerous stuff.
No.
It's the key ingredient in the Tamiya extra thin, isn't it?
Oh, I'm not too sure.
I don't know.
I would assume so. I don't know. I don't know. In any case, yeah.
Because
So
that was that Plastruct and
I had a bottle of that
Plasti Weld or whatever they used to call
I had
it.
a bottle of that. I was once upon a time I found myself in this country town. I was driving through it and it had a model shop, so I thought, I'll pull in. Middle of Victoria up in Whoop Whoop, and it was a
so that means
90%.
That's Australian.
Was it Bendigo?
No, this is a little.
So
little,
whoop whoop is Australian slang for like middle of nowhere, hillbilly town or something like that.
Yeah,
So is this
upper Combukta West?
It was a small town that only had one pub. That's how big this town was.
Oh, that's a
and
small
it had a
town.
model shop.
But you know that with Australia, it's not a town until it's got a pub.
True. So I only had one pub, so that's giving you an idea how big this town was. And it had a model shop, so I thought, I'll go and have a look. And it was 90% railroad stuff, which is fine. And they had a bottle of that Plastistruck stuff. It's like a black lid with an orange sort of...
Correct, yeah.
Tape. Anyway, I brought it home and it's useless. It doesn't stick anything. My spit would stick something harder than this stuff.
It's probably gone off. It's that old.
Well, probably is. I don't know.
It's probably stock from the 1970s.
Yeah, no doubt. So I've never used Plastistruck again. Stupid stuff.
Yeah, look,
You really had a great experience with it.
Yeah, I did. I'm telling you, a spit would have worked better than this stuff. It was just terrible.
yeah, no, look, I'm with you. I prefer the Tamiya Extra Thin.
Yeah.
I think that stuff's wonderful. That's the best glue that I use anyway. Look, there might be better glues out there, but it's what I'm quite comfortable with.
So how long do you guys, because I've got a fairly set time period with my Tamiya Thin that I can sort of almost hold it without having to use clamps. But I see a lot of guys online, they'll clamp their model and sort of walk away for, like 2 days and come back.
I don't like that. Because clamps are pretty strong. And I don't...
I always stress about that as well.
Yeah, because you can get warpage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stress about that.
Yeah, so...
As long as I find, as long as the two halves are mating together as perfect as possible, don't have to apply any more pressure.
Exactly.
The more pressure, especially if you're using like Tamiya Extra Thin, where it actually has
Melts,
a chemical reaction and welds the two halves together, that's going to cause it be basically to warp and.
Well, the thing that I
problems.
worry about is that if you're using some kind of a clamp or a clothes peg, right?
Clothes peg's not so bad because it's not such a
I know there's not much pressure
force
there.
in it. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I kind of worry about is like where it's on, say, like a wing or a fin or something like that.
Yep.
It's pressing in the middle and it opens up the edge.
It's fighting against you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you've got to get it right on the edge where it's actually gluing.
And then you got to try and get it to stay there right on the edge, which is...
they just...
Yeah, with a
Shoot
record
off.
to go flies off. Yep.
Yeah. So I used to use the clothes pegs a lot when I was a kid. And, now I don't.
Some people use elastic rubber bands.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'll do that sometimes. Yeah. That's not bad. I've never had any issues with it, like glue or running.
But I find by the time I get the elastic band sort of on there, the darn thing's stuck together anyway, so what's the point? If anything, what I will do, perhaps, depending if I'm having trouble with particular fuselage, once I've glued it, then I might run some Tamiya tape just to hold it in place on about 2 parts of the fuselage.
I do that as well.
Yeah.
If I've got warping and I have to glue it in sections, like say starting at the bottom, and then I have to sort of make my way around the outline of the fuselage. What I'll often have to do, because you'll eventually get to that point where there's a spot that just doesn't want to cooperate, and you've got to essentially hold it there until it really starts to solidify. That's when I go to the super glue and I super glue the crap out of the inside of it, and then I hold it in place, and then spray my my accelerator up in there, and that can hold it until the real glue does its thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I find with super glue is it's brittle.
Yeah, but it's
and if
only
there's too much pressure, it can actually break apart.
Yeah. Well, see, it's only a temporary. It's there to aid and hold the thing without my hands being there.
Yes.
Until the main extra thin sort of bond sets up. And then, because I haven't used, I'll probably need minimal filler around the outside. If it's plastic, it'll scribe like plastic, right? So you don't have to worry about scribing this line, and then you get to the part where you use some
super glue,
putty or super glue, because like super glue is harder than the plastic, and then putty's softer than the plastic.
And some putties tend to chip if you try.
Yeah, they crumble.
Yeah, crumble and chip when you try and scribe them.
Yeah. Yeah,
so all. Yeah, it's
so all your work is aimed at minimising having to do any rescribing.
Yeah, because that no one likes rescribing. No one.
I do.
Do you really?
That's what I did with the old Mitchell.
Well, you're the mad one.
Monogram the old 48 scale monogram B25 Mitchell. I rescribed the whole aircraft.
Oh, I detest it.
Basically, just got a little bit, just snapped the bit or cut the bits off the sprue, and just spent about 2 or 3 days. And just
if you were going to build one now, would you reach for that kit or would you reach for another?
I still reckon it's a great kit.
Yeah, but would you reach for that kit or another?
Well, I don't think there's anyone else does a B25J in 48 scale.
It's Accurate Miniatures.
No, that's a C.
No, they have a J, don't they?
No, I'm pretty sure. Oh, hang on.
They have a few different ones, don't they?
I'm pretty sure the Accurate Miniatures ones are the ones with the gun turret further down the spine of the fuselage, whereas the J's are right up in behind the cockpit.
I don't know enough about this subject.
But no, I reckon the old monogram, some of those old monogram bombers, they're still...
Well, I just finished building
They're great.
The Hustler.
Sort of a monogram
Hustler,
kit.
the old
The Hustler,
B17,
Yep. Yep.
B29.
Yep.
What had the B24 Liberator?
Yeah, I know that there's a group of people out there, modelers who prefer the monogram kits for some certain subjects, just because they've got
in some instances, they're the only ones who produce that particular subject in
That's
that scale.
right. If anyone else, like for example, like if Tamiya or someone like that decided to produce some large 4-engine and 2-engine.
Well, they covered all the American
bombers.
subjects, and some of them are still, like, if you really care about shape issues, I think the monogram ones are supposed to be better than their counterparts that are much newer.
Yeah,
Because I think they had access to the aircraft manufacturers a lot easier.
Plus they had access to the blueprints.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting away from subject. So we've sealed up our
Fuselage halves.
Oh,
yeah.
Canopies.
Well, we'll get to the canopies in a minute.
Oh, okay,
That's
we'll
one
get
of
to
the last
canopies
things.
later.
Because what I want to know now,
Wings.
yes. So here we go.
Well, wheel wells.
Oh, I forgot about the wheel.
Wheel wells.
We'll get to the wheel wells because you're doing the wings now anyway. So
Wheel wells go on the wings
they do.
most of the times if you're doing older aircraft.
Yep. Even modern aircraft, dare I say, as well.
I don't paint my wheel wells
What?
until after all the paint's down.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, you go the opposite too. I always paint my wheel wells first.
I'd be painting it first.
It's easier to mask around a wheel well than to mask inside it.
Yeah,
No,
but how do you
just
get
use bits of foam.
What?
I use bits of foam.
Nah.
Jam foam in there. That does a great job of masking.
After you've painted it, yeah, and when you're doing the rest of the outside. So seriously,
I just run tape around the outline of the wheel well.
Yeah,
I see what you mean.
I can see what. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just staggered that. How can you? I don't know. Because the bit where you're running a tape around, at some point you're going to paint that bit as well.
What do you mean?
No, what Julian's saying is he's laying the tape down on the flat part of the wing.
On the outside of the wing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you
I run
meant
it. So I run
on
around
the inside of the.
No, I run it around the outside of the hole. That is the wheel well.
And then you cut that out.
I don't even need to. I just run little short pieces of tape all the way around it, and that's it. I mean, most of them are like long straight pieces.
How do you get the round bits in?
You don't need to do it perfectly. As long as it's not too far a distance, like it doesn't say you place a piece, say the round part where the wheel is, right?
Yeah.
That round hole.
Yes.
Right?
Where the wheel folds up into the wing.
Let's say it's like a Japanese plane where it's essentially a long shaft and a nice round bit. Looks like a spoon. You only need maybe 6 pieces of tape to go all the way around that circle. You don't have to cut a perfect circle around it. Because you're spraying
a lot more.
Because you're just spraying into a hole.
Yeah, geez, I'm a lot more. No, I'd be.
All you have
to make sure that
the reason I don't do that is because I try and detail up the wheel wells.
Well,
and with some aircraft, there's a fair bit of colour inside there.
Yeah, it depends on
especially
on the
modern stuff because you got all the hydraulic lines and everything running in there. You'd have to do it first.
Why? I can just paint with a brush from outside the plane.
Oh, geez, you'd be really pressed to do some of the hydraulic lines from outside the aircraft.
Well, here's the thing, right?
Yep.
If your paintbrush can only approach the inside of that wheel well from the same angles you can view into it.
He's got a point there.
Yeah, he's got a point there. Damn, I hate it when he's got good points like that. Yes, but you know that it's not fully painted in there, though.
What do you mean not fully? The inside of the fuselage isn't fully painted either. So is it that mold breaking of a revelation?
No, I'm just stacking. I've never thought of it from that point of view before. So you've blown my mind a little bit here.
There you go. Dave's learned something.
Well, I've not learned something. It's been
also. Here's another sort of interesting part to that.
Yep.
So when your wheel well usually comes up to the actual wing surface, right?
Yes.
And that wing surface is going to, with the way you build, the edge of that wing surface, where it's in the wheel well,
protrudes
that's
past.
going to be the outside colour, right? The colour of the plane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? So let's say it's zinc chromate on the inside.
Yes.
And it's bare metal on the outside. That edge is going to be bare metal.
Yep.
Right? Technically, that should be zinc chromate because it's far thicker than the real skin surface of the wing.
Oh, yeah.
Look, unless you're building something like a late war Hellcat where it's just going to be blue, same colour as the aircraft.
Exactly. That's a perfect example of one where I don't understand why anyone would paint that first. It's all blue anyway. Just build the whole lot and paint it blue.
Paint it blue, yeah. Save yourself a lot of time.
Even the gear legs are blue on those things, so you should just glue those on as well.
Let's put the actual wheels aside for the minute and the landing gear because I want to circle back to that later on.
Okay.
So the wings are now halves are done, and we've either done it Julian's way with the wheel well, or we've done it the Ian and David way with the wheel well. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
We got there in the
It's
end.
your own personal choice.
Yeah, personal preference, totally.
I'm still blown away by that your method. Anyway,
Get over it. Get over it. Get over it.
so here's a question: do we now attach the wings before we paint the entire aircraft, or do we paint the fuselage and the wings separate?
Well, it depends how big the aeroplane is. I always paint it all when it's glued together, except the one time I didn't do it was when I was doing the 48 scale Tamiya Lancaster. I painted the wings separate to the fuselage, mainly because it's just such a big thing to have to manoeuvre around when you're painting.
But the fit, the flip side of that is the fit of the wings into the fuselage was so good that you wouldn't notice that they were able to be taken apart.
No, that's right. Yep.
But even that little Emily that I built just recently, the 1/144th scale, the wings were surprisingly so good that I could build or paint the wings separate to, thank goodness, because I had the floats and all the rigging done on the floats. I could do it separate and then just sort of slot the wings in the fuselage afterwards.
Well, remember you got those cases where the upper fuselage colour runs underneath the tail wings.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have to mask the underside of the tail wings if you've got them already glued on.
True.
If you don't, then...
Yeah. But what's also going to instruct you as to whether you do it with the wings on or off is how well the model actually fits together too.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
if you've got this great big gap in the wing root...
Which you do get a lot of times. And a lot of people will get away with that by actually gluing the top part of the wing halves to the fuselage and then mating the bottom part of the wings
After. That's a bold move.
It is a bold move.
A more peculiar version of that I've seen is I've seen a modeler who glues his finished wings onto the fuselage halves before he closes up the fuselage.
Madness.
Yeah.
That's heresy.
Wow. That's
Why would he do
that's
that?
asking for trouble.
I don't know.
That's bizarre.
That's
don't know.
asking for trouble.
In any case,
You got to make sure that you got to get your angles right on those wings, your dihedral
I think
and
it's
hedral.
Well, I think he builds more for fun than for
Fair
accuracy
enough.
and stuff.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Yep.
He doesn't take it too seriously, I don't think.
So you just touched on something really interesting, the ahedral and the dihedral. So the dihedral is where the wings point up at the ends in relationship to the fuselage, and anhedral is when they droop down.
Yes.
So a C-17 is ahedral, and a DC-3 is dihedral.
Same as the tail feathers on a Bristol Bowfighter.
Yes.
They got a great angle on those things.
And the tricky part of this is when you've got a gap at the wing root.
Yeah.
Because then it's tempting to, how much dihedral can I get away with before it looks like it's got broken wings?
Yeah.
You know, just to close up that gap.
That's where little bits of styrene come in handy.
Yeah, a bit of plastic card.
Yep.
Shove it in there. Once it's in there and glued, then you cut it so it's sitting proud of the wing.
And
Cut it with a sharp knife and a bit of sanding.
Because
wet and dry.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the kind of, because if you have to sand that spot, it's the kind of thing where you need.
Kids can bite some of your detail once you're standing there.
And
can't
with that,
you?
well, there's the one aircraft you got to be really careful with, as if you're building a Focke-Wulf 190.
No, because
the gun breech panels.
Yeah.
They protrude over the line of your wing root.
Oh, really?
So, and that's why a lot of people miss that. And you look at the gun breech panel, which is that rectangular panel right at the wing root, and you can actually see the seam line. There's a line running through it.
Yeah.
Where it shouldn't be. It's one big large panel.
Yeah.
With four.
Is that a peculiarity of, say, Hasegawa kits or something, or?
Not just Hasegawa. There's a few other brands that have done Focke-Wulf 190s. It's
It also depends on how they've designed their kit. You know?
Totally.
Like
agree.
a good modern kit would have hopefully designed.
I think Edward got rid of that problem.
Oh, their old kits, their old kits used to have were designed to have open gun bays at the wing root, and nobody likes that really. People close that usually.
Unless
like
you want to show everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's all good.
So
if you
that's
want
it too. Also, when you build, how much detail do you want to show?
Well, that's right. So that's why the modern Focke-Wulf, which replaces the old one, the original one had like full engine, full guns, everything in plastic.
I've got one of those. And
nowadays, they just go with a more regular standard fare kit, and they provide really good resin if you want to put the detail in. It's an opt-in resin rather than a try and fix it up.
Yep.
So quick and easy way to get your ahedral right, your dihedral, I should say, right, or even your anhedral, you just get some tape and you run it from the edge of the wingtips to the centre of the aircraft. So unless the model is that well engineered that it'll just sit there without you having to do that while it glues, but a bit of persuasion sometimes is needed.
It's becoming like a much more, like I think kit manufacturers realise how important that is, the anhedral, dihedral factor, because a lot of the Tamiya kits nowadays will have like a spar that runs through the middle of the wings that will fix that for you, so that you can't get it wrong.
Yes.
I like that.
So now we come to the appendage, which is the tailplane.
Well, the tailplane's always part of the fuselage.
No,
you mean your tail feathers?
Your elevators.
Yep.
So do you stick them in before you glue, or before you
paint
or after?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, okay. I do.
Unless it's like a different colour.
Yeah.
Like some of the early war US Navy where they had the white and red striped tails. Then you'd probably paint that as a separate part and glue it in later. But if it's the same thing and the camouflage runs through it, you glue it on.
Yeah.
Glue it on.
All right, we'll come now to the engines, and this is the power plant. This is the other area you can go nuts with aftermarket stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's so much aftermarket now.
And we're talking both, radial engines or inline engines.
Afterburner cans.
Jet, the burner cans on the back.
The seamless intakes.
Yes.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff.
I don't have much experience with the jets, so
no. Look, I've done a few aircraft where I've used the Quick Boost aftermarket resin engines, which are freaking nice engines. The only thing you got to do to them is just put your own push rods on, but they're beautiful engines. They're so like you think, it's an engine. It costs you what $10 or something to buy one of these engines. You think, you just spent $10, but then you put it next to the kit one, and it's like chalk and cheese.
It just lifts the model.
It just boom.
Yeah.
Whereas, look, say you got like a twin crank radial engine where you got one set of pistons sitting in front of the rear set. With most model manufacturers, it's moulded as one piece. And when you get one of these aftermarket like the Quick Boost, you can actually see around it, rather than just have like this impression of an engine. And there's some really dodgy engines out there with some of these kits.
The worst one I've ever seen was the engine in the 48 scale Accurate Miniatures Dauntless. It actually has like all the wiring types stuff on front, and it's huge. I mean, like these are things you would replicate with very, very thin wire, and these things were big, fat, it looked like someone had slapped an octopus on top of.
And see, that's with the radial engines, you're really, really stuck, because unless you get a decent radial engine that comes with the model kit, it's going to be exposed. You're going to see it. Whereas if it's an inline,
you don't see it unless you've got the panels open.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah. But then again, like there are some aircraft you can't see it.
It comes down to scale too. So,
for example, the Focke-Wulf 190, especially the radial engine, you don't see it because they got the fan in front.
Yeah, and people will detail like the radial engine in an I-16 because sometimes the vent things on the front are open.
Yeah.
And you still can't see in there.
You won't see much. Even in 32 scale, you're not going to see much in one of those.
You can't see anything. My Helldiver, I didn't put too much. It came with a photo etch wiring loom.
Correct, yes.
That goes over the top. And I put it on, and you can sort of see it. But for the most part, you can't because it's one of those rare American...
But you know it's there.
Yeah, it's one of those rare American radial engine aircraft that has a spinner, which hides it all. Most Japanese aircraft, they have spinners, even if they're radials.
Yes.
So you got to...
And of course, it's, as I said, the scale you consider too. So if you're building down in Dave scale 1/44, well,
why bother?
Why bother? Exactly right.
Well, or 1 to 350. I didn't do any detail on the engines of those things.
But 1/72 scale, I'd consider it. I think I would consider it if the kit ones weren't that crash hot.
With the Quick Boost resin engines and how you said you have to put your own push rods in. I used to avoid them because of that.
Oh, it's easy.
It is easy now. I think about it now because I've got enough little brass.
Well, I got me chopper now, so I just set it at the right length and just chop about 24 of those.
So you
rods
use styrene, do you?
Yeah.
I would have used brass because I've just got plenty of brass lying around now because it's like, you needed this, like a centimetre of brass for X job and you really needed it. So you bought it. Yep. Now you've got all this brass lying around. Yes. So you're like, well, I may as well dig it out and use it for this and that and everything. Trying to find a way to...
You can get thin enough styrene now from Evergreen to do the job properly.
Yeah. If you break off your guns, you can replace them with brass tube.
Yes.
In some cases.
Depending if they got cooling jackets or not, or they're just sleeved.
Yeah. Something you can get away with it in some places and others you can't.
Yeah. But you see some people, they cut like the side, like you look at some of these like people that do like the F-15s and the F-111s and like modern jet aircraft, and you watch them and they've cut the whole front of the aircraft open and they fill it full of the avionics and looks amazing, but geez, imagine the work they have to put into that.
Yeah.
Plus it cuts away with the aesthetics in my mind to the sleekness of the aircraft.
Oh yeah, it ruins
too many panels open.
I don't mind that, but the problem I have with the panels open, and this is what you have to consider, is that trying to scale down the correct thickness of a panel in a 1-to-1 scale real life aircraft down to 1/24th scale even, the plastic that comes with is way too thick.
Oh, it is, yes.
So you're going to get an aftermarket brass. So brass, photo etch would probably be the correct thickness to the scale for what you're trying to achieve. But then you're going to go, and geez, you got a heck of a lot of scratch building ahead of you in brass.
Oh, yeah.
Or photo etch.
That's one of the arguments against a lot of the older Eduard kits, that their trailing edges were too thick.
Yes. I remember what it did me P-39.
Yeah.
Everyone said, oh, you can't build that. The trailing edges are like blocks. I was like, well, fine. I'll just tape a bit of wet and dry sandpaper to my bench and put a puddle of water in there and just spend an hour, just give it a good sand. And by the time I finished, they were like razor blades.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way you can inject a bit of realism into your aircraft kits by thinning things out.
Yeah.
But that's a dangerous road because if you thin things out too much, they just break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I've laughed at Robert so many times for I mentioned him quite a few times this episode because one of the things I'm quite known for in the various model clubs I'm in is making fun of Robert, and it's all coming out this episode.
Poor Robert. Poor Robert. But I remember years ago.
You guys give me crap as well, so it's all right.
Yeah, but you deserve it though.
But no, sometimes you really got to thin stuff out. Though.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I bought back in one of the clubs we used to have a competition called Build a Bitch, and what it was is everyone had to bring in one of the worst manufactured kits they could find.
Yep.
In 1/72nd scale. And a raffle was put through and you had to build it to your best abilities. And I can't remember what brand it was, but I know it was the kit I got was a Messerschmitt 262, but it was the big 75 kW, whatever it is, anti-tank gun hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember this kit.
Oh, Dragon? Was it?
Nah, because the fuselage was, I remember the fuselage and wings were hella.
Oh.
It had...
Wow.
It had some Revell bits in there as well, and then it had like photo etch, and the wheel wells were photo etch. And you had to fold them up and then try and put them in the wings, and there was no way you could get the wing halves together. So I had to sand it that thin.
Wow.
That if I held it up, I could see my fingers behind it. I could not go any thinner, or I'd be through it, just to make these bits fit.
Yeah.
That was as they call a bitch.
With jet engines, the big focal point is generally the hot end.
Oh, yeah.
Where the exhaust comes out the cans.
Oh, I've seen some photo etch alternatives for that that have looked the part.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Some of the, like, you look at like F-15s and so forth with all the little mechanical bits on those.
But even just the resin aftermarket stuff for them is just sublime.
It can be. I've seen some builds where the the commonly accepted resin alternative was actually not that great, and some new ones came out from whoever, maybe Brasson from Eduard or something like that, and it actually was a much better much thinner, more sort of fragile-looking thing that looked the part. You know?
Yep.
You know, new resin stuff comes out all the time, and you know, advances in all the.
Oh yeah, now they're starting with the 3D printing. So I remember I was checking out on Hyperscale, I think it was today or yesterday, and some companies bought out a 132 scale resin printed Bristol Beaufighter cockpit.
Oh, jeez.
Basically one piece. It's like,
Yeah.
great. You got to clean it up. You got all these little
What scale?
132 scale.
So, but there's only one kid in that scale, is there not?
Yeah, I think it was the old. What was it? The old
The old
Revell kit?
Revell one. That's good. That's an old.
That's
kit.
That's an ancient kit. But as you know, with resin printing, you got all those little rods.
Yeah.
And this thing must have had about 50 rods on it.
They're pretty easy to clean off.
Yeah, but then with the resin is you get those lines.
Not all of it.
No.
This one had lines.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
It
that
had lines.
This
But the thing that got me though is all your throttle quadrants and everything was on there. So
If you
You're gonna
snip
have
the wrong
fun.
thing off,
yeah, not just that, but you're going to have a lot of fun painting it because
Yeah.
it's already together. Because
Yeah.
like stepping back to the cockpits, like your throttle quadrants and all that are usually black up against either a grey or a green interior. So you paint them separately.
Absolutely.
It's just for ease.
Moving around to the undercarriage, which is another area which you can really go to town with aftermarket parts. And I was thinking specifically now of your white metal stuff. Because with the
some of the
larger...
some of the stuff's good and some of the stuff's really ordinary.
Yeah, but also the white metal does two things. Number one, it will withstand the weight of a large model. Whereas if you've got plastic undercarriage over a period of time, that'll either collapse under the weight or bow.
Yeah, I remember I did an old, I think it was probably a 1980s or early 90s boxing of a Japanese F-15 in 48 scale. And that actually, they supplied metal rod that actually went up through the undercarriage legs.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like
Except the front was really daggy because the rod actually went through into the tyre.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So with the metal ones, I've never used them.
No.
But from what I've heard, some of the ones on the market there are just the plastic ones from the kit reproduced in metal.
Yeah. And when they reproduce it, they lose detail.
Yeah, and they also keep the mold line that runs down the center of it. So you've got to get rid of that, which is much more difficult in.
Yeah. Now, do you put brake lines on?
Ooh,
If I was building a large scale one, I would play around with brake lines. Just to, I think, unless it's a noticeable brake line that's sticking out in 1/72nd scale, I wouldn't bother from 1/72nd scale down. I sure as heck wouldn't bother in 1/144th scale.
No.
But I think 1/72nd scale is that sort of borderline. So if it's a definitive sort of brake line, like I'm thinking, of an aircraft, World War II aircraft, where the brake line sort of pokes out a bit, bows out.
Oh, yeah, yep. I mean, yep.
Then yes, but certainly the modern stuff, 1/72nd scale upwards, I'll be tackling that for sure. Because it's just part of the... Well, again, it comes down to what you're comfortable building and whether you're just happy doing an out-of-the-box kit, which a lot of people are.
Yep.
But, I've got a couple of large... I've got the F7 and the F8 fighters out there to build. I'm certainly going to be looking at doing brake lines on those.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting because I've never tackled that before.
Yeah, and then you got your piston, or whatever they call it.
The
The
oleo.
Oleo, yeah. That's where I reckon that Molotow.
Yeah, I reckon
Chrome
Molotow
pens
is
are
going to come on really handy.
handy for that.
Yeah.
Other things to do with landing gear is one thing I'm quite careful about is the edge of your panels. The doors on your landing gear, because there's always like a lip, or at least in most kits, there's often a lip where the outside of it should be the outside color and the inside color, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people don't pay attention to that, but when you look at the aircraft from the front, that's the part of that you see the most of that object, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I reckon most landing gear, those door things you're talking about, are overscaled anyway. So
Yeah, they are. But when, some people will go to the effort of like sanding things down and thinning things out. And if you got resin alternatives, like I bought resin alternatives for the Helldiver, and I made sure that I got that as well as I could get it. I've seen kits in plastic that do it better. But yeah, that's a good thing to look at, because there's little details like that, where they can show off how sloppy your job has been. Tires.
Yes.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to get to.
So weighted tyres or balloon tyres?
I'm a big fan of realism, so I'd be going with a balloon tyre. So therefore, I'll be looking for an aftermarket resin.
Some better than others.
Yeah, I remember the old True Details.
Yeah.
I went bananas with those in my younger years, and they were great. But then you look at them nowadays and you think,
they're flat.
Flat tyre. So I still got some, and if I do use them, I tend to sand the bulges.
Well, you know what? And then again, we've spoken about this so many times. You've got to go back to your reference photos to see how much of a bulge is actually in the tyres of the particular aircraft.
Correct.
Yeah, there's surprisingly very little bulge on most.
Yeah, but perfectly rounded, so it looks like it's got
overinflated.
It's got helium inside the aircraft instead of holding it off the tarmac.
First time it tries to land on the runway, it's just going to bounce straight back in the area.
Yeah, exactly right. So you've got to put a bit of realism in there. And
also the colour of tyre black.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't ever paint it black.
No, I always use tyre black.
And I tend to go lighter on my tyres than most.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't. Like, you think, oh, gee, that's a really light grey that you're using to paint those tyres. But once I've got the kit finished, no one ever notices that it's that light. Because
and if you're doing World War One aircraft, well, a lot of times you're going to use like a white or a creamy colour.
The white rubber,
before they started putting soot in with the mix.
Yep.
That black colour.
Also on land vehicles as well. That's that colour, like your Model T.
Yes.
The ye old tyre.
The old tyre style.
Yeah, the ye old rubber.
Yes. It's almost like a yellow rather than a white sort of colour.
Oh, it's originally white, but it does. Yeah. Once it ages, it goes yellow. It gets stains and yellows.
Yeah, almost like a hay colour.
Do you put like a sort of dusty wash in your tyre grooves?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I like doing that.
It depends. But again,
I usually put like a bit of a stain on the area where it's actually touching the ground.
Oh yeah, because of the wear makes it lighter a bit. Yeah.
It depends what you're depicting. I mean, there's nothing wrong with an aircraft that's rolled out of the factory. And that's going to be
nothing
pristine.
At all. No. Yeah.
And I'll even
and carrier aircraft.
Carrier aircraft always filthy.
No, but there's not going to be dust. Like sandy dust.
No.
Dirt.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, I remember reading a story about it was a Dauntless pilot, and he's flying his Dauntless, and he was thinking to himself, and he's looking at the bottom of the where his feet go and everything. He's going, I'm in the Pacific, and there's dust down there. Where did the dust come from in the middle of the Pacific? So the
wind.
Yeah, dirt and stuff gets in it still.
Gets blown in.
But I mean, I remember going on board a Japanese naval destroyer, and they had the Seahawks on there. And these aircraft were in pristine condition. Now, these ships had just sailed all the way from Japan down to Australia and done all these exercises around here. Even looking around the doors where the crew get in and out, whatever chips were there had been painted over and it had all been immaculately... They were obsessively clean, those guys, in the way they keep their equipment.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Obsessively, and I've seen it firsthand. It just blew me away.
That touches on a very specific thing as well, because apparently the P-51s that were stationed in Japan after the war, the Japanese crews would dig out the putty in the wings, because the wings were puttied over.
That's right, yeah. They'd dig it out.
Yeah, they'd dig it out and polish it all up.
So really, you just ruin the aircraft, ruin its flying capabilities.
Not ruin it, but drastically sort of hamper it. Maybe.
Yep.
I don't know. Because I didn't know that I was part of the design.
Yes, yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
Or at least
I think it's mainly the front half of the wings who were all puttied up on the Mustangs.
I mean, you think about the differences between American aircraft and Japanese aircraft that were built to, like Swiss, like clocks were, like really refined sort of things, and they had different, thicknesses of aluminium in parts of the plane, and very different.
True.
So I've done the carrots. We're going to come back now to your cockpit, because remember we didn't put the glass on yet.
Oh, the canopies.
Well, I always do that after I painted the thing.
Polish.
Yeah, polish your canopies.
Yep.
Always give them a good polish. And a
Now,
clean. Some people dip them in future.
Hang on, because you have a look at any pictures from World War II, and the canopies were filthy.
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't clean.
They were clean. Every
weren't clean.
aircraft. You look at the flight crews and and the ground crews. They're always there cleaning. Because that's you're in air combat. You got to make sure you got perfect vision. And if you got a grubby cockpit, that's gonna really affect your vision.
There would be all sorts of scratch. They would be clean, but there would be scratches through them.
Yeah,
all
be little
left,
scratches
right, and
here and there, but they'd be clean. They wouldn't be like filthy. They'd definitely canopies are always got to be clean.
Yeah,
that's the way they always polish them, and clean them up.
Although I don't polish my Tamiya kits because the canopy glass on those is just immaculate anyway.
Really
so it's just like all I do is make sure I don't touch it with my fingers.
And some people dip them in future.
Yeah, I know.
Mm.
But like I said, I don't paint my canopies till I've basically that's one of the last things I paint.
Actually,
after I paint the fuselage.
So some people I know can pick a kit that's been finished where the canopy has been dipped in future because the canopy looks so shiny that it reflects all the lights in the room and you can't actually see into the cockpit anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So you can go a little too far.
Correct.
Yeah.
I always just give them a bit of a polish with Tamiya extra fine polishing cream, just to make sure there's no blemishes and they're nice and smooth and you can actually see through them well. Well, some of those early Airfix kits, like the reboxings that have been done from the 60s and they still rebox them, and some of those canopies are just shocking. You just look at them and you go...
Also, Zvezda's canopies, don't polish those. If you've got one of those kits, no. Because it's like rubbery. Like, you know how generally most canopies are very brittle plastic?
Yep.
Yeah. Theirs is practically rubbery. You can bend it like 180 degrees.
Well, so they're getting they're using the same guys as that Airfix uses to do their plastic injection molding in India.
Who knows?
All I know is that it's really rubbery, and if you try to polish them up, it just fogs them. You
Really?
handle them, it fogs them. The only thing you can do to protect it is dipping it.
Wow. Handy to know.
Well, I think that's reached the limit of actual building the aircraft. We haven't really dived deep into painting, but I think we'll leave that because we're hard up against nearly
2 hours.
2 hours.
Oh, jeez.
So we've been here for a while through yakking. So
we might have to finish this off next episode.
Yeah, I think so. We might come back and finish off aircraft painting next episode.
Yeah.
Why not?
We've done
Sounds
well.
It probably won't take it anywhere near as long as the rest of it so far.
Yeah.
We might get someone else in the studio so we can poke fun at them instead of
Each other.
Sounds like an idea. Sounds like a great idea to me.
It does. All right, guys, any sort of closing comments, Ian?
Well, enjoy your hobby. Don't be scared of photo etch because it always will be your friend.
Julian.
It can be a friend if you've had enough practice with it. But yeah, I mean, it helps if you got the right tools. And I think if you're going to mess with photo etch, be comfortable with super glue first.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yep. And a soldering iron.
I haven't touched that yet.
No. All right. We'll sign off. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll be back in a fortnight.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was an overly long episode, but we hope you have enjoyed it. Just a few closing things to note. I've got some weathering pencils from AK. There's a pack of 5 blue and grey, which I'll be randomly selecting for one of our Patreon supporters, and I'll let you know that in the next couple of days who the lucky person is, and I'll shoot them off to you in the mail. And, of course, if you still need some more podcast goodness about model building, don't forget to check out our friends at the Scale Model Podcast, Anthony and Stuart. They've got a great little show over there, and it's available where you find all your good podcasts. So that's it from me tonight. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll be back in a fortnight.